Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to see what are the 16 different ideas to visualize KPIs. KPIs are an important part of a dashboard because they set the direction of the dashboard from the beginning. If your KPIs, they are good, they are meaningful, and they are insightful, then they will lead to actionable insights. If they are not meaningful or insightful, then they affect the usefulness of the dashboard. And in KPIs, we need to be very concise. At the same time, we have to give the message as much as possible. Sometimes we use different font size, sometimes we use different colors, and sometimes we use different shapes to convey our message. And we try to be as clear as possible for the reader so that they can know what we are trying to say at the first glance. In this video, we will see the main features of all the 16 KPIs that we have built. If you want to know how to build these KPIs, then I have a different video for that, and I'm giving the link on the screen which you can click on, and then you can follow the tutorial to build the KPIs. But in this video, let's have a look at the main features of the KPIs. So the first 4 KPIs are related to sales. The first KPI, as we see, it's just the sales number of the current year, which is selected using this filter. And then we have got the percentage variance versus the prior year. It's colored in green or red based on the increase or decrease versus prior year. Also, we want to show it by this border. So in case if I want to select 2021, which was a negative year, we can see that the color changes of this detail as well as the border. So that alerts the user that, a change is happening. When we look at the second KPI, here we see that the decrease or the increase that is represented by this arrow, along with the sales year, which is 2021 in this case. And then we have got the current year number. We've got the percentage versus prior year, percentage variance versus prior year, sorry. And then we've got the actual variance as well, which is a 31K, but it's a negative amount. And then we have got this trend chart, which is controlled by using this slicer, which is either 5 years trend or a 10 years trend or 15 years trend, depending on the user's choice. Then we've got the third KPI. Here also we are showing the current year number. We are showing the increase or a decrease using this arrow, which is an SVG. So in case if I go back to 2024, now it's an increase. And then we see that there is an actual variance as well as the percentage variance. Here we show the actual sales. We are using the dark blue color so that the user knows that this line is representing the actual sales and this line is representing the trend over the last 10 years. Then we have year-on-year change, which means that these columns, they are showing whether the sales was increasing or decreasing on year-on-year basis, right? Then we have the fourth KPI, which shows us the sales in bold, which basically attracts the attention of the user that it's a KPI related to the sales. We have got the selected year 2024, which is here. Here, let's say it's 2021. So we see the actual amount of sales, and then we see a percentage variance versus prior year and a percentage variance versus the baseline year. Now the baseline year is basically a reference year that we use in order to do our analysis. In this case, we are selecting the baseline year 2012, or in case if we select 2016, then we see that there is a decrease as compared to 2016. In the visual, we are showing the previous years in gray color, whereas the current year that is being shown in the blue color. Then we have got 4 different KPI designs for sales versus profit. Here we can see that the sales is represented by a dark blue color in case if we are using colors, and the profit is being represented by the light blue color. The first one, we can see that it's a sales, the current year sales number, and then the percentage sales and the variance. And then we have this trend chart, which is showing if the sales has been increasing or decreasing over a period of 10 years. And then we have this profit. The same methodology applies to the profit. In the next KPI, we have got sales, and here we are using the color for showing the percentage variance as well as the actual variance, and also the accent bar is showing the same color formatting. So for example, if we go to 2024, which was a positive year, so we see that the accent bar also changes to green. So this is also for an extra attention from the user. And then we are using a different color for the profit. Again, the same methodology applies. Here we are showing the last 10 years trend, and we show the prior years in lighter colors, or their transparency is higher, and then the current year, which is 2024, that is selected in a darker color. So that also draws the attention of the user towards the current year. Here we are showing 2024. That means that we have selected the year 2024, sales versus profit, in two different colors. We are emphasizing on the percentage year-on-year change. We are showing the actual sales amount in the details of the KPI rather than the actual KPI itself, because all of this KPI is about the year-on-year change. So here also you see that the trend, we show year-on-year change trend, which is sales versus profit. So again, sales, because it's dark blue, so this sales, as you can see, that the sales was like increasing or decreasing, and accordingly the profit was also increasing or decreasing. Here, for example, you can see that the sales has increased just a bit in 2022, but the profit has increased massively. So let's go to 2022 to see if that is actually correct. Yes. So for example, the sales increased only by 31.4%, whereas the profit, it increased by 352.4%. So that's a massive increase, right? And then we have got the last KPI. So let me go back to something like this. Okay. In this, we have got the sales number and the profit number, and then we have got the percentage increase or decrease. Here we are putting more emphasis on the colors and showing their difference. So here we can see that the dark blue line with the shaded area, that is representing sales, and profit is represented by the light blue columns. So here we are putting more emphasis on the actual numbers. On the next page, we have got 8 more KPIs. The 4 KPIs are actual sales versus the target sales. That means we are comparing our actuals with a certain target. And then the next 4 are the sales versus the baseline year sales. So if we look at the first KPI on this page, we see a bar chart that is for the selected year, which is 2024 in this case. And what we are showing here is that whether the actuals, they are greater than sales or not, by representing in different colors. And we are also showing the same colors in the title. So for the actuals, we have the dark blue, and for the target, we have dark gray. Then we are also showing how much variance is there. At the same time, we show whether it's a positive variance or a negative variance. In case if we go back to 2021, you will see that it changes to red and it shows the amount of the variance. The second KPI that we have here, that is how much percentage of the target have we completed. So the maximum would be 100. So either this donut, it will be partially filled or it will be fully filled. Here, as you can see, that we are showing the actual with a dark blue color, and then the target with any kind of color, preferably something like a grayish color, because it helps to keep the contrast. And then we show either a red or a green color for the percentage and the actual amount. So if we go back to 2024, you will see that it turns to green, and it says that target has been exceeded by 20.5%, which is 636K. The next visual we have here is showing us the current year. It uses the dark blue color for the sales and the dark gray color for the target. Again, we are giving emphasis to the sales, and we are showing by how much percent have we exceeded or missed the target, and then we show the actual amount. Here we are using the columns as well as the error bars within the columns to show whether we are missing the target or we are exceeding the target. And another thing that we are using here is the color formatting to show which year is the year that has been selected in the filter. The next KPI that we have here, that also shows the current year at the top, again giving emphasis to the sales and the target in the second line. And then we show 2 comparison. One is the target exceeded or missed for this year, and a comparison versus the prior year, whether it has exceeded the prior year or it's less than the prior year. So in case if we go back to 2021, here we can see that we have missed the target. At the same time, we have even reduced as compared to the prior year. Now let's say if we go to 2015, where we have increased as compared to the prior year, but we have missed the target. So I'll make it for 5 years and I'll go to 2015. Here we see that we have missed the target slightly by 1.3%, but we have exceeded as compared to the prior year. I'll go back to year 2024. The next KPI is the sales versus baseline year sales. Here we are following a very simple approach, the main year and the main number. As you can see that this is given in a larger font, which is necessary to give emphasis to this number. And then we've got the accent bars and 3 comparisons versus the target, percentage and the actual amount versus the baseline year. This is, as we said before, that this is a reference year that we choose in order to do our comparison. So in case if we set the baseline year to 2013, we can see that the baseline year percentage, it changes, the percentage comparison I mean, right? So we've got this percentage comparison versus the baseline year and then versus the previous year. So once I go to 2023, so we can see that the previous year changes, the versus target, that's 2023, and the baseline year, it remains the same. The next one that we are showing the current year sales in a smaller font, but then we are showing the bigger number, which is the most important number, in a larger font, just like before. We are showing the baseline because we have selected this baseline. So we are showing that the baseline amount was 2267 and now we have 3183. So what is the percentage increase or decrease? So we see that there's a 40.4% above the baseline year, and then we also show a 23.7% above the prior year. Here we are using the lollipop chart to show the baseline as a constant line, and then we are showing different lollipops. In the end, we are showing the one that is selected, which is the year 2023, as a blue one. The next KPI that we have, it shows the actual amount in a bold number, and then the selected year, which is 2023, and then a comparison versus the prior year and versus the baseline year with percentage and the actual amount. What we see here is quite interesting, and I think this is one of my favorites in all of these, because here I can see that the 5 years in the middle, they were less than the baseline, and these years they were greater than the baseline. Here it's a bit difficult, but here the cognitive load is even less. And what we are doing here is that we are representing the gray colored columns with the baseline, and then we are showing the variance above or below the baseline. The last KPI, we are showing 3 different things: the actuals in the dark blue color, the target in the gray color, and baseline in the light blue color. We are showing the percentage increase or decrease versus the target and versus the baseline, because we are mentioning actual, target, and the baseline. So this order has to be followed as well, that first we are reading the target and then the baseline. So we have to put the target first and then the baseline. And then we are using 3 different colors: the dark blue for the actuals, right? The light blue for the baseline, and the target is represented by the gray color. So that is all, and we are going to build these KPIs in the other video that I have shared in the link. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.